All right, let's get into it. Today, we're not just talking about coins and bills. Nope. We're going to dive into the story of humanity's most powerful and, maybe its strangest invention. We're talking about money, the software that literally runs our entire civilization.
I mean, just think about that for a second. This quote really nails it. It perfectly captures the magic, right? The mystery of money. It's so much more than just a tool for buying stuff. It's a shared belief, this collective story we all agree to live inside. You could even say it's a hack on reality itself. Okay, so to really get a handle on our crazy complex financial world, we've got to go back. I mean, way back. Back to the beginning, to a time before money even existed. We need to see the chaotic, super inefficient system it replaced. You can think of barter as humanity's version 1.0 of an economy, but man, was it buggy. I mean, first, you had this thing called the double coincidence of wants. It sounds complicated, but it just means I have to want your fish at the exact moment you want my arrows. Good luck with that. Then there's the problem of indivisibility. How do you trade half a live cow for a loaf of bread? You can't. And finally, no standardization, like whose goat is worth more. It was just a mess. Building a complex society on that? No way. So the solution wasn't about finding a better thing to trade. It was a total paradigm shift. The real leap, the real genius, was moving away from trading actual tangible value, like this specific goat right here, to trading symbolic value, trading an idea that was just represented by an object. And this is where you see those first brilliant steps into abstraction. We started using things like cowrie shells, blocks of salt, even ostrich shell beads, not for what they could do, but for what they meant, what they represented. This was it. This was humanity's first universally accepted symbol of value. It was like our first social contract, but instead of being written on paper, it was written in these little objects. Now, here's where the story takes a really interesting twist. The next giant leap forward, it didn't happen in some chaotic, bustling marketplace. Nope. It happened in the quiet, super organized halls of a Mesopotamian temple. And this little fact, it completely changes how we should think about where money actually came from. So, if it wasn't coins, what was it? What was the big innovation? Well, the answer is a piece of tech that is, believe it or not, the direct ancestor of the banking app on your phone. Yeah, seriously, forget everything you've seen in the movies with people clinking heavy bags of gold coins. That whole scene came way, way later. The real revolution was something much more abstract. And here's the kicker. Money wasn't born as a physical thing. It was born as pure information. It started as a record of who owed what to whom. Simply put, the first money was debt. So picture this. Around 3000 BCE, Mesopotamian priests started using these simple clay tablets to keep track of the grain that farmers were depositing in the temple granaries. These tablets, these ledgers, were effectively the world's first bank accounts. It was a centralized record of trust, which, if you think about it, made those priests the world's very first bankers. Okay, so we have this abstract idea of a ledger. Now let's see what happens when that idea gets forged into a physical tool and used to build actual empires. This is the moment when the state gets involved, when governments realize the incredible power that comes with controlling this new operating system. And, states caught on fast. They saw the potential immediately. Around 600 BCE, boom, the Lydians mint the first standardized coins. Why? It's a perfect military technology for paying a professional army. Then the Romans take it even further. They start stamping the emperor's face on their coins, basically turning them into little pieces of pocket-sized propaganda. And then, a huge leap forward. China invents paper money. Just a promise, backed by nothing but the power of the state. So for centuries, for most of history really, money was always tied to something physical. Whether it was a coin or a piece of paper, it was supposedly backed by a real asset, usually gold. But then, in the 20th century, that final tether, that last link to the physical world, was deliberately and permanently cut. The big moment was 1971. The US officially said, nope, you can't trade your dollars for our gold anymore. And in that one move, pretty much every major world currency became what we call fiat currency. All that means is that it's backed by, well, nothing. Nothing but our collective trust in the government that prints it. At this point, the abstraction is nearly complete. And that brings us right up to today. Think about the money in your bank account right now. Is it a big pile of cash sitting in a vault somewhere with your name on it? Not even close. Something like 99%, 99% of all money today is just a digital entry in a database. It's just bits and bytes flying between servers. The physical object is pretty much gone.
But this complete digitization, this total abstraction, that wasn't the end of the story. Not at all. In fact, it set the stage for a really dramatic new chapter. On one side, you have a rebellion against the system, and on the other, you have a move by the system to become more powerful than ever before.
So, let's set the scene. It's 2009, right in the middle of a massive global financial crisis. And out of that chaos, Bitcoin emerges. But here's the thing. It wasn't just a new currency. It was a whole competing philosophy. It was a direct challenge to 5,000 years of centralized, state-controlled money. It proposed a new system, one backed not by trust in governments or banks, but by the cold, hard certainty of math and cryptography.
But of course, the states are responding. The next evolution is already in the works: central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. And make no mistake, this isn't just digital cash. This is money as pure software. And what can you do with software? You can program it. Imagine money that could be programmed with rules, money that could expire on a certain date to force you to spend it, or money that simply won't let you buy certain things. We're talking about a system with surveillance baked right in, embedding state influence directly into every single transaction.
So what this all boils down to is this. The crucial point here is that we're looking at a future where money isn't just for buying and selling. It could become a tool for direct behavioral control, a way to shape our choices in real time.
All right, so after this wild 5,000-year journey, right, from cowrie shells all the way to pure code, what's the big takeaway? After all that, what is money really?
Well, first off, it's a story. In fact, it's probably the most successful story ever told. It's this piece of collective fiction, a shared hallucination that we all agree to believe in. And because we all believe, it has incredible concrete power in the real world. And second, it really is the operating system for human civilization. It's the software that runs the whole show. And right now, the battle for who gets to write the next version of that code, whether it's going to be centralized or decentralized, open or controlled, that is honestly one of the most important fights of our lifetime. Which leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on. Humanity took an idea, right, a pure abstraction, and over thousands of years we built it up, gave it the power to create and destroy entire empires. So the question is, have we become servants to the very system of control that we ourselves designed?